Hello gamers, I'm Online Gamer Richie, and this is Guild Wars 2 Ranger Pets. There are three basic types of pets. They're ground, water, and amphibious. Now, amongst these types, there are families, which are the general type of pet: a bear, a cat, a drake. And then there's the species, which is a specific name for the pet that you have. So you might have a brown bear or a polar bear. Now each of these pets have, each of the species have their own skill, and then a general set of skills that belong to the entire family. So let's take a drake, for instance. If you have an ice drake, he has a ice breath. That's his specific skill. Then, what is common amongst all the drakes is the fact that they have a bite, a chomp, and a tail swipe. Now, why is this important to think about? This is important because it gives the ranger the greater flexibility in their builds. You might want a pet that does a dot damage, or the ability to do some crowd control. Maybe because your build doesn't have it. Now, when you're looking at your pets, you also have to think about managing them. Now, you have two pet sets, basically. You have water and land. And depending on which you are on, depends on what pet set you're using at the time. So if you're on land, you're using ground type pets. If you're in water, you're using water type pets. An amphibious pet can be put into either slot. Now remember, when you go from land to water, your skills change. So if you're using an amphibious pet that you have in both the land and in the water, its skills will change as well towards, depending on land or water. So how do you get your pet? Well, just as in Guild Wars, you charm your pet. And the way you charm your pet in Guild Wars 2 is very different from the way you charmed them in Guild Wars. In Guild Wars, you cast your spell, and then you had to wait a few moments while you charmed it, and during this time your pet that you're charming could attack you and possibly kill you if it was able to. In Guild Wars 2, you just have to be close enough to the pet to charm it, and then accept the charmed pet. Now, how do you know if you can charm a pet? This is where it gets a little tricky sometimes, because you're not necessarily able to find them. First of all, you've got to find it. And in an area, there may only be one or two. But luckily, they seem to respawn fairly quickly. So once you find one, you can charm it, even if someone else has charmed it just before you. And the way you know that it's charmable is if it has the name Juvenile in it. So you can't just charm any salamander you see, or any Moya you see. You have to find one that has the name Juvenile in its name. And speaking of names, you can change your pet's names. So let's say you want your drake to be called Ralph. You can change its name through the pet, not necessarily the management window, but by the paw next to all of its skills. There's a little thing that says change your pet's name. Now we're going to go to talk about why having a pet as a ranger is important. There's several reasons why having a pet is important as a ranger. First of all, as a ranger, your pet is basically your tank, or your extra damage, and your crowd control. You can actually heal your pet. You can res your pet as well as other people can. But let's say your pet is defeated in a fight. If you have a second pet in your, let's say you're fighting on ground, and you have a second pet, and your first pet is defeated, you can bring out your second pet to continue fighting. And as soon as the switch skill recharges, you can switch back to your old pet and he will be fine. This is important because oftentimes your pets will fall in battle, and giving enough time you can redo it, reuse him. Another reason why having a pet is important is in your downed state. If your pet is still alive, you can command your pet to come over and help get you back up faster. Now, if your pet has already been defeated, you can resurrect your pet and then call it over to help you out. Your pet also has skills that are used from your utility. There's a skill that allows your pet to go out and revive allies while you're still fighting. So you can see having a pet is very important to a ranger because they are extra damage, a tank, crowd control, and much more. So if you're going to be playing a ranger, think about your pet as a huge tool to allow you to defeat your enemies. As always, play the game your way. Laterz.